Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into another episode of D Industry. In this episode, we have a very special friend joining us today. Hi Pragati, welcome to D Industry.
Hi Tej, hi everyone else.
So, how was your day so far?
It was good. I woke up really early today for this, so yeah, good so far.
That's wonderful. So, Pragati, if you could introduce yourself to our viewers out there.
So, hi everyone. I'm a UX designer at Google. Previously, I worked at Microsoft with Tej, so that's about me.
That's wonderful. So, what was your journey into design? How did you start?
So I think like a lot of the people here, I also started like not in design, but I really wanted to be a designer. So I was an engineer turned designer. I did engineering in civil engineering, and after that, ever since I think since my childhood, I really wanted to get into design. So I got to know about this exam called SEED. I prepared for that, and this was somewhere while I was actually already in my first job, which was at Infosys. I had two options. I could just go along in Infosys in their UX studio, or I could prepare for SEED and go through the masters in design. I really wanted to go for the education, so I prepared for that. I got into IIT Guwahati, and after that from there I interned at Microsoft. I got a PPO at Microsoft, then I worked at Microsoft for the past 4 years, and then here now I have joined Google.
That's wonderful, Pragati. So, what would your advice be or your tips to the beginners who are starting into this field?
To the beginners, I would say first of all, know and understand about design. It's not just UX design or not just one field of design, which probably they might have popularly known through the media, through the internet, that okay, UX design offers a lot of jobs. First, know about design, what all it has to offer, and then if you really feel that you are fit into one of that, or if you are really interested in one of those fields, then you can probably dive deeper into it. If you really feel that you want to go and get that education, because if you go for masters, it might not actually be like, nobody would be teaching you how to draw pixels or how to work on Figma. They'll actually be teaching you the basics of design, how do you apply that. So if you are really interested in getting all of that, and of course you will have a really great network if you go for masters, if you go for education in design. But if you really feel that you already know a lot about design, a lot of people when they are switching from other fields, if you have a BDES degree, you already know about design, then you might not want to go deeper into it or go deeper in one field. Then probably you can just with that prepare your portfolio and go ahead, apply for the industry. If you are just in school and you are thinking of joining design, then also I would say that learn a little bit about design. It's because try to search about it, but I feel that it's a really great field. And somewhat I have this take that people who are starting off right now, they do have sort of an advantage with all the chat GPT and everything. It also makes it a little tough for you, because originality is now even more uniqueness and originality is valued a lot, but it's also very, very unique now. You can't just go and draw inspiration from somewhere, because that would be similar to what chat GPT does today.
Very well put. So, let's get started. What was your because I know you from Microsoft, but you moved recently to Google. So, how did you ended up working there? Why did you choose Google? And what was the process like, and what motivated you to join Google?
Yeah, so I would say that first motivation was definitely because since I had been working with Microsoft for very long, like for 4 years, and I was in the same team. I was in Windows, and there was some sort of monotony after a point, and I really wanted a change. I really wanted to explore new fields and other products as such. So I was looking out for other opportunities. I was working, I was collecting all my work, putting it together in my portfolio. And it was not that I was just preparing for Google or just one company or targeting one company. I was going through multiple interviews. I had interviewed for many more companies and got a few more offers. And while in that process, of course, when there was opening for Google also, I just made sure that I had 6 months back, when I joined Google, even before 6 months prior to that also, I was interviewing and I was failing really multiple times in a lot of interviews. So I took a break. I realized what all people are looking for. And there were specifics which I would say, like maybe we can talk more about all of those specifics, but which I realized that I have to work on certain things on my portfolio, or certain things of how I present, what all I talk about, and what all needs more time. And I would say that I was fortunate enough that by the time I interviewed for Google, I was really thorough with everything. I was really well prepared. And then when I interviewed for Google, it was really like a smooth walk. In fact, I have heard that for a lot of people, Google interview takes a lot of time, but for me it was very smooth. It just went in like 2 weeks or so.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's talk about your early days and what were the challenges that you have faced in your early days, and what would your words of advice will be to tackle those challenges?
So I would say that for designers, a lot of time you will actually face these early days. When you are just starting off as a designer, there would be these early days of design. Then when you are starting off as in the corporate or in the industry, there also you might have these early days again. And then when you join another new company, then also you'll have these early days when you are learning again. So it's always like a learning curve everywhere, and you should always be open to, you should be a lifelong learner. I think that's true for all the corporate jobs, but I think it's in general like very true for design. The trends keep changing, everything keeps changing. So when I was like early in design, that time I used to be like, of course, very open to whatever comes my way, or whatever people are telling, whatever I am learning. So that is, I was just in the absorbing phase. And I think that really helped me, because whatever like my seniors or my friends would be telling me, I would not be just going and talking about what I know, but really like I would love to listen to them, follow, like if you come across new pages of design or anything, sometimes they might really be like just wrong. If you just go look at just dribble and be like, oh, wonderful designs, and you don't understand the science behind that, or like what's going on that screen, and why is it happening. But I would say that question everything, question whatever. Probably if your professor tells you that this is certain way, or how say some sort of interactions work, you should question why is that interaction in such a way. Why is that designed in such a way? Is it really intuitive for users? So I think that you should go into the depths of things when you are coming across that. And the secondly, when you are starting off in your career, that time I think everyone comes across this imposter syndrome of like, I don't know. Sometimes it's for really long. For me, it was like at least for 1 or 2 years, I just felt like I don't know anything, or am I like just pretending that I know a lot? Because you might hear so much from people, and of course it could be overwhelming. But at the same time, I really feel that you should be confident of what you know. So that's why you've reached certain place. But at the same time, you should always be open for feedback and ask people for feedback, and make sure that you grow in those fields.
That's wonderful. So let me ask you a self-reflection question. So how has your design style and approach has evolved over the years, and are there any key milestones that stand out in your journey?
Yeah, I can actually talk about that. So I would say that if I go back and reflect on a few things which have evolved me. So very initially, when we were preparing for say internships and all in Guwahati in my college, I used to approach design like, okay, this is the problem, I have a solution in mind, and of course we would be knowing certain sort of a process. Let's just apply the process. And applying the process is like, okay, problem statement taken, take that problem statement through these stages and then arrive at a solution. It works at a lot of places. It works that if you are first like taking a problem statement, doing some research, you gathered some of the things, then you have some of the features which you come up with, you have your user cans and all of those things, you write it down and you go through that and you might arrive at something. But in that process there might not be a lot of loops and reiterations and what actually happens in corporate. So I think that I used to feel that, oh, it's so simple, you have to just take your problem through this process and you arrive at something. Maybe it's double diamond, or maybe it's any kind of a approach which is given in like About Face or any of these books. But when we actually go to the industry, we realize that it's not like this. It's like if you've seen The Good Place, it's a series, and it's in that they say that time is like Jeremy Beremy. It's like all around, right? So I feel that it's somewhat like that. Your design process, you would start somewhere, you would diverge, but not like diverge and then converge. You would diverge further. You might go through multiple sort of sprints. You might run. You might actually gather a lot of insights from multiple places, and then you have to actually see how you put all of those things together. But the real challenge is when you actually go to the engineering team or to your partners and show them, and then there would be feedback from every place, and how you evolve your design from that point. So I think that what I learned is that design is really iterative, not in the sense which is written in the books like, okay, reiterating or diverging and converging, but it's actually when you're actually putting it on ground, you realize that okay, there are many more things which have to be considered. So nothing is actually set in stone. You keep evolving your design. You do start, but what's really important is that you start somewhere and you start putting that design together, and make sure that you are, on the in the process you are evolving your design as you're evolving your thinking and everything else. But you have to really start somewhere. You have to work with ambiguity. So I would say that if I have to summarize, when I started, I used to feel that okay, gather all the insights and go start working. But now I feel that you don't really have to wait a lot. You have to work in ambiguity. So with whatever you get, you start working, and on the way you might actually learn about a lot more things.
So Pragati, there's this oftentimes been asked like, how do you balance user needs and business goals? So what's your take on that?
So I would say that if it's a personal project, if you are the sole designer working just with the engineers, I think you really would have to make sure that you are considering everything, putting everything, the business needs and everything, and the user needs. But I would say that for a designer, it's really important to keep the user needs first, because the business needs would be tackled. If it's a personal project, then make sure that you are also putting the PM hat and doing that job also. But if you are in the industry, I think the business needs gets taken care of. You don't have to go and be really speak on behalf of the business. You really have to be the advocate for the users. You have to focus on user centricity. Make sure that the research is done. One thing which is different here at Google, what I feel, is that they have a dedicated researcher in the projects. They have a dedicated TPGM or a program manager who would take care of all the timelines and everything else. And there is a PM who would take care of your business goals, your product goals. So I think everything does get balanced if you have a complete triad. But if any of these roles is missing, you'll have to fill in for that. So I would say that actually understanding the jobs of all your stakeholders would help you, because then you understand, you empathize with them also, that where they are coming from, and you know what level of negotiation you can do with your design. So you are not compromising on the user, but you are making sure that this works for the product along with the business. And one thing which which I feel is very, very important, which I used to tell a lot to my PMs earlier, but I think here now I think it's very set in stone for me, is that whenever a business side comes to you, or your PM is talking to you and telling you that probably we can do this feature later and we can do this later, or we should right now focus on this business, push the numbers. We have to ultimately understand that we are building this product for product success as well as and for a product to succeed, it should be something which is likable by the users.
True.
So you have to tell the PM also that we are not against each other, we are both working on the same goal. So how probably our goals are different otherwise. So make sure that we both are actually working on one goal, and we'll both write the goal statement together.
That's wonderful.
So you can actually map why you are coming, why you are talking about some user goal, and why that person is talking about some business goal, and do both of them align together or not. And if they are not aligning that, then how are they both contributing to the same goal?
Having that common alignment is something that you as a designer should also bring onto the table to be an effective collaborator, even if they are not, but
definitely that's one of the skills. Actually, people really we all, when we are becoming designers, we really focus on all our design skills.
True.
Sharpening our tools basically, craft and making sure that our pixels are really perfect. But I think most important apart from that is how you actually collaborate with all of these different other roles, all the functional roles which are there, and actually, you know, be coherent, like bring that collaboration to the table, because otherwise even if your design is like really great and you're not talking to all your stakeholders, making sure that their contribution is included and all their perspectives are included, all their feedbacks are in the product, then it might actually be a one-sided design, which is, you know, probably very visionary or not really talking to the real life situation at this point.
That's wonderful. So with that, let's talk about where do you draw your design inspiration from, and are there any specific design movements or design resources that has influenced you a lot?
So I would I have like my one source of actually learning about any trends or anything, any design trends or new things or drawing inspiration is through Reddit. I come across a lot of these subreddits. When I was working in Windows, there was like something called like Windows. There were a lot of these channels for, they would actually have some Windows designs and Windows suggestions, and where people would be going and talking about, you know, this could be done and that could be done. So I think depending on where I am working, I would actually go and look for a lot of these things on Reddit. In fact, you might actually find a lot of design threads also over there. Apart from that, I used to really be interested in interaction design as such, not just, you know, UX or screens as such. So I used to look up this site called Experiments with Google, and there are a lot more similar sites. We can actually, you know, I could share the links with you and you could put them
I'll add it in
as
the
a resource.
description.
There is one book which is called Design Sprints by Google. You can just search that, and this Design Sprints Google, like we also got these cards. And one more thing which like was different with Google is that they actually have a very good way of running design sprints. Earlier, like my experience with design sprints was not like very streamlined, or how you actually make through that, you know, you're going through all the stages of writing the problem statement, you're writing the user cans, and then bringing that to design. But after that, it really got clear for me, and that really helps you working on the vision. So I think if you are starting off in the industry, it's a good book to read, that one. Apart from that, I would say that, you know, if a trend is actually trending, it will come to you. You don't actually go and follow a trend. It should reach you. So I don't think, like, I don't go ahead and like, oh, what's going on right now. It should, if I am active, I'm so active on LinkedIn, and I'm really active on other social medias also. So if it's actually a trend and if it's actually something which people like, I'm also a user at the end of the day. So I'll actually get to know those things.
That's wonderful. So with that, let's talk about what was your way of preparing for interviews. What would your advice be, and how should designers craft their portfolio?
Okay, so let's first start with the portfolio part. So there I feel that a lot of people have this myth, even I had this thing, you know, that you should go ahead and build a beautiful website first, which is not true to like what I feel. It should definitely be how you want it to be. I had my entire portfolio on Figma, which was just like, I would be building the entire page, the scroll, like linking each of those cards. It may or may not be your style. You might really be comfortable building a website for that. So whatever you are comfortable with, and where you can showcase everything. So initially I had a website. I do have a website right now also, but I haven't shared everything there, especially because a lot of my work was NDA also. So I had like a glimpse of my work on the website. It was a very, very simple website, because that's what I like to represent myself as, because I like to keep things very, very simple, very to the point. So I just kept
reflecting your personality.
Yeah, my personality. So I kept my portfolio like that, where I had like few of the products, like few of my projects lined up. Portfolio should reflect your personality. And then another point why I feel you should probably be careful when you are presenting something from your website or something is, if it's just a portfolio share out, or like when you are just giving your portfolio for a review, you can share a website. But if it's like presenting your portfolio to the panel, there the drawback which I feel with the website is that you can't go a lot into details, you can't zoom in somewhere, and this happened with me last year when I was interviewing for one of the companies, and the person kept asking me like if I could just zoom in, if I could just talk a little more details about a certain segment, and I could not do that because the website was a little restrictive in terms of the sizing and all those things. And with Figma I felt like I had that freedom to decide how much like weight I want to give to something, and how much I'm like whatever I want to do, I had the freedom to do that in Figma. So that's why I built my entire website with that. And also one more thing which I felt was I could, whenever I wanted, I could just like hide something which I did not want to share apart from the interview. So I would just open that only in the interview part. So I could actually follow the NDA through that. And of course, you have a little more, like I felt like I had more control through Figma. Whoever is taking a look at the portfolio, whenever I'm sharing out, people also do that in Google Drive and all. So I feel that that gave me a little more freedom that way. And of course, if you have NDA projects, what I would suggest is that debrand. If there are like very, very secretive things, you can just blur them out. And people are very respectful about those things. People don't ask you to be like, okay, no, still share it. And if it's a company like that who is asking you to break the NDA,
that's a biggest red flag.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yes, that's wonderful. So let's talk about interview process now.
Yeah.
So how did you crack Google's interview? Let's take that as an example. And the other companies also sort of kind of follow the similar pattern. So let's talk about your Google experience in terms of.
So Google has a very, I would say, a very structured design interview process. You can actually, if you just Google's design interview, you will get all the rounds. You'll get in fact, the Google's official page also releases how you should prepare for the interview. They have an interview guide. So if someone is giving that level of details to you, I think it becomes really easy if you have prepared enough. Like I would say that you should be very thorough with your presentation. The first round is definitely just screening, where you go ahead and you present your portfolio, you showcase one of your projects or two of your projects. So you don't have to have like 10 or 15 projects prepared. It's fine with maybe maximum of 4 or 5. But minimum of 2 at least, in detailed projects I'm talking about. And these detailed projects, it would be best if it's something which is already live out there. The good part for me was that recently like one of my project was live and it was in Windows, so I did not really have to do a lot of digging. I just had to collect like one or two of the articles which were already published. So I had put that in the in the bottom, just like after I have explained the process, how I approach the problem and all those things. And since it was live, I did not really have to be really careful about putting things together because it was there for the people, and I could actually get a lot of feedback of how people are receiving that through Reddit and through X. So I think like all of these things really matter if you are able to get a good project which is live. That's the best. Last year I interviewed for Uber when this was asked, and I did not really have a latest live project, and they were really emphasized on having a live project at that point. So, and I did not get into that company. So I think that happens. You should make sure that you are having something which is fresh. You like first round is of course about sharing, like just like a screening round. The second, like if you get through that, then there are on-site interviews. In the on-site interviews, there are 4 rounds. One of the round, like the first one is mostly, or like they are in actually a random order, so it could be any of that. So one of the round is actually you go to a panel and you present the entire, like your 1 or 2 projects to the panel, and there would be like 4 or 5 people who would just be listening to you. They won't be asking any questions. And then there are again 4 rounds after that, which is one is with the partners, one is with the hiring manager, one is for your design exercise round, and then I think one of them is a googliness round. So one goes deep into design, they ask design related questions. One would go about your functional collaboration, how you have been dealing with certain kind of situations. Then one of them is around design exercise round. They would be giving you a question and you would be expected to solve that on the call. And then the last one is googliness, which is more like a behavioral round. It tests how googly you are, and you can actually just go ahead and Google that term to know more about it.
Thank you for sharing all these great insights, Pragati. So before we wrap up, wanted to understand, how do you handle feedback and criticism on your designs?
So yeah, I think that's a very tough thing to do. You should actually have a very open, like you should actually be very open for all of these things, because ultimately that helps you, build onto your work. And initially, I was like very closed for these things. I would be like it would really affect me a little bit. But over the period, I realized like how important that is. So yeah, like when you're starting off, you are probably open for all kind of feedback. Then you start getting closed as soon as you get your first job, you get going, you are like, I'm a good designer, why are people telling me all of these things? But when I think as soon as you get you actually start knowing people, you actually start knowing like there is so much to learn, you will be like, okay, probably I like this is the only way actually you will be improving on your design skills and also on your design. Because if you don't really get feedback, it's just one person's design built for a specific set of things, and you might definitely be forgetting a lot of things when you are including some sort of research. When people actually give feedback, you realize that okay, probably this perspective also has to be included. Also one more thing, that unlike engineering or unlike any other field where things are very quantified, where you have to be like whatever you are doing would have a very 1 or 0 sort of an answer.
Metrics.
Either your code works or it doesn't work, or you like just make sure you fix it in a certain way. So things are really binary. But when it comes to design, it's actually very gray. It's very subjective. So like it's not, you can't really apply a method and be like, okay, this is the short solution and this is the only solution. So until and unless you actually evolve organically and ask for feedback, you can't evolve your design. So that is one thing. And also you should really learn to dissociate from your design, because if you take that design as it's my design, then you can't take feedback, because you'll feel like that feedback is on you. But if you dissociate and it's like this is a piece of work, and this is done by collective inputs from your PM and all the crew, then it's like it's just work, and you're getting all the feedback on the work and not on you. So I think you should deal with it that way. It also helps you like deal with a lot of toxicity. You are not like taking all of that headache home when you are going back from your work, because it should be like that. It should be like work. You have to make sure that the product is succeeding and not like building emotions on that work.
That's wonderful. So before we wrap up, any 3 book recommendations?
I would say that one book which is the Design Sprint, that is something which I have recently come across. It also probably has these cue cards sort of things which you can follow to do Design Sprint. So that is one book. Apart from that, I'm not really reading any book. It's very unlike of designers, I know, but I'm not a person, not a big fan of. I really like exploring new tools. I really liked Adobe Firefly recently. I really liked the ChatGPT latest version, which was, I think ChatGPT 4.4, yeah. And Gemini 2 also. Of course, I'll do product promotion.
Yes, Gemini.
But I would say that, try all of these new products, because apart, I used to IIT Guwahati has a big library. I used to go to the library very regularly. It teaches you a lot of basics and approaching things, but with time it also gets a little obsolete, especially UX books. I think of course About Face is one of the interaction design books, and it teaches you a lot of interaction design things, but for a long run you have to be very thorough with all the new tech which is coming in the market. And that is that's why I would suggest that make sure that you do good use of GPT-4, or you do good use of Gemini 2, Firefly, or whatever new products you hear about, at least, so that you are you are building onto your skills. And that's what I would recommend to people, that try new products.
That's wonderful.
Make sure that you use if you are using Swiggy, just open Zomato also, and at least do a comparative study for yourself, how probably this business is approaching something, how someone else is approaching something.
That's cool. Thank you so much, Pragati, for sharing all these wonderful insights and recommendations with us. And folks, for watching this video, there's also another video we're going to do with Pragati on 101 LinkedIn. So that where we're gonna talk about a lot about how could you as a designer utilize the power of LinkedIn and do it. So that video will come after this video. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And once that video is out, somewhere in the end screen, we'll put that video out.
Yeah.
But once again, thank you so much, Pragati.
And yeah, I'll add one thing.
Yeah.
LinkedIn really helped me get this job. So yeah, I'll actually put that.
So yeah, with that, see you guys in the next video, and thank you so much once again if you have stayed till this now for the video. And there's also a lot of Hindi content and other regional content we are making. So if you are an audience who want to see those videos, do definitely check out those as well. And with that, thank you so much. You can reach out to Pragati also on LinkedIn. I'll be attaching her LinkedIn in the description down below for any queries and doubts. With that, peace out.
Yeah, thank you so much.